council hall was silent as Queen Claire walked forward. Her crown shone under the lights and her voice was firm. Before her stood many human men, soldiers and leaders waiting for her command. At the center of the room was the cage. Inside the cage rested the savage wolf. His golden eyes glared through the bars and every soldier in the room felt fear. The wolf was not like the animals found on quiet worlds. It was born on a land of fire and storms, trained in wars, and feared by all who saw it. Many men believed it was not a beast at all, but something greater. It could crush steel with its jaws and move faster than any soldier could react. Queen Claire raised her hand, and the voices of her men stopped. She spoke with calm strength. She said the wolf had become too dangerous to keep near the heart of their rule. She said it was time to leave it behind, far away, so it would trouble them no more. The men did not argue. They trusted her word and prepared to carry out her command. Soldiers in heavy armor moved the cage. The wolf growled, shaking the bars, and every step made the floor tremble. Men lined the halls with their weapons ready, though none dared to fire. The beast was chained, yet its power filled the air like thunder before a storm. They brought the cage to the great transport ship. The ship lifted from the city and carried the wolf across the stars. The men who guarded it did not speak. Some felt pride that they were chosen for this task. Others felt dread, fearing the day the chains would break. But all obeyed, for they served their queen. After days of travel, the ship reached a world scarred by war. The ground below was dark with old ruins and broken fields. Nothing lived there now but the wind. It was the perfect place to abandon what they feared. The cage was lowered onto the ground. Soldiers in lines stood with weapons in hand. Their commander Ethan gave the order. The chains were unlocked, and the gate of the cage swung open. The wolf stepped out slowly, its head low, its breath heavy. The soldiers held their ground, though. Their hands shook. The beast did not attack. It raised its head and looked at the men as if it knew what they had done. Then it turned away and walked across the ruined field. The soldiers watched in silence as the wolf vanished into the mist. Commander Ethan gave the signal to leave. The men returned to their ship and rose into the sky. None of them spoke on the journey back. Each man carried the same thought. They had abandoned something that was not just a beast. It was something that remembered, something that would not forget. When the queen heard that the wolf had been left behind, she did not smile. She knew this choice was only the beginning. She looked across the hall of her council and spoke to her men again. She told them the galaxy was safe for now, but she warned them to remain watchful. Far away, the savage wolf lifted its head to the night sky. The ruins echoed with its howl. It was free, it was alive, and it was alone. Yet in its eyes burned not only hunger, but thought. The men had left it, but the bond between man and beast was not broken. Something greater was rising, though none yet understood what it would become. The ruins of the world lay quiet, but the quiet did not last long. Villages built on the edges of the broken fields soon began to feel the weight of something hunting in the dark. Men and women spoke of shadows moving faster than the eye could follow. They told stories of a beast with golden eyes that tore through stone walls as if they were paper. Daniel was a young soldier sent with a small unit to guard one of these villages. He was not the strongest among his men, but he carried a steady heart. He listened to the cries of the villagers, mothers who held their children tight, and fathers who stood ready with simple tools, though they knew such tools would never stop what was coming. At night the men stood watch. Fires burned along the walls, but even the flames seemed to shrink under the weight of fear. Then it came. A sound like thunder rolled across the field. Men raised their rifles and waited. From the mist, the wolf appeared. Its size was greater than any beast they had seen. Its body moved with power and grace. It was savage, yet it carried a strange calm in its steps. The soldiers opened fire. Bullets lit the night, but the wolf was faster than their aim. It leaped over walls, struck men down, and moved before the rest could turn their weapons. Daniel fired again and again, but his hands shook, fell back as the wolf landed before him. Its golden eyes locked on his. For a moment he felt certain his life was over. But the beast did not kill him. It growled, close enough for him to feel its breath, then turned away. It struck down 2 more soldiers and vanished into the shadows. Daniel lay on the ground, staring at the smoke and broken walls. The village was left in ruin, yet he was still alive. The next day, reports spread to the queen. Messages from many villages told the same story. Men had faced the wolf and had fallen. Armies sent to capture it returned broken. The beast did not kill without reason. It struck with thought, as if it chose its targets with care. Queen Claire gathered her council. Men spoke of fear, of how the wolf had become a storm they could not stop. Some demanded greater weapons. Others begged to stay far from the cursed land. But the queen listened with quiet eyes. She asked of the survivors. Among them, only one name was repeated: Daniel. He had faced the beast and had lived. Daniel was brought before her. He stood nervous under her gaze, still shaken from the night. He told her the truth. He had seen the wolf up close, and in its eyes he had seen more than rage. He had seen thought, he had seen recognition. The queen did not dismiss his words. Instead, she ordered him to remain near the council. She believed his link to the beast would grow. Many men in the hall doubted her choice. They feared that the wolf could not be bound by any human, but the queen saw something none else did. On the scarred world, the wolf moved again, hunted soldiers with skill. It tore down their machines, always moving with purpose. Each strike was not wild but planned. Men began to whisper that the beast fought with the mind of a warrior. Daniel lay awake at night, hearing the memory of its growl. He did not know why it had spared him. He did not know what bond tied him to it. But deep inside, he felt that his life was no longer his own. The wolf had marked him, and the future of all men would soon be shaped by that mark. The leaders of the worlds grew restless. The reports of the wolf spread faster than their fleets. Whole patrols of men were gone, their machines torn apart, their weapons left on the ground as broken metal. No commander could give a clear answer on how to stop it. Each man who survived told the same story. The beast moved with the skill of a trained fighter. It struck with reason, not madness. Commander Ethan stood in the war chamber beside Queen Claire. Maps filled the walls, showing the path of destruction. Villages were gone, bases reduced to silence. He argued that they must gather every fleet and strike with full force. If they waited, the wolf would grow stronger. The queen listened and agreed that they could not remain still. Orders were given. Men were called from across the stars. The largest gathering of soldiers in years formed under Ethan's command. Their ships filled the sky as they prepared to march on the scarred world. Among the soldiers stood Daniel. Though younger and less seasoned than many, he was ordered to join. The queen had made it clear. He had faced the wolf once and lived. That alone set him apart. Ethan did not trust him, but he obeyed the queen's word. When the fleets landed, the ground shook under the weight of their machines. Lines of men marched forward with weapons ready. Great towers of fire and steel were placed to trap the beast. The plan was simple: force the wolf into the center, surround it, and strike until nothing remained. At first the night was still, then the silence was broken by the cry of the wolf. From the mist it came, larger than the men remembered, its body marked with the scars of many battles. It leaped into their lines with savage speed. Men fired from every side, but the beast moved as if it knew their every step. A unit of soldiers was crushed in moments. Machines toppled as the wolf slammed into them. Metal ripped apart under its jaws. Ethan shouted orders, sending wave after wave against it, but none could slow its fury. Hush! The air burned with fire, yet the beast was still standing. Daniel ran with his squad, firing when he could, but when he turned, he saw the wolf cut through men he had trained beside. His heart pounded as he faced the same golden eyes again. For an instant, the wolf slowed. It looked at him, not with rage, but with something else: recognition. Another soldier shouted and fired at the beast. The moment broke. The wolf leapt away, striking down the soldier with one blow before vanishing back into the smoke. The trap had failed. Hours later, the survivors returned to the ships. The camp was heavy with silence. Men, who had spoken with pride now, sat with their heads low. Ethan cursed the failure, but his anger did not hide the truth. Their greatest force had been broken in one night. Queen Claire received the message. She did not show fear, though her men trembled. She saw the truth in Daniel's words. The beast was not mindless. It had chosen to spare him again. That choice carried meaning. Daniel stood alone on the edge of the camp, staring into the night sky. He could still feel the weight of the wolf's gaze. He knew it was not finished. Deed. He knew it was not just a beast. Something bound them together, something even he could not name. And as the fires of the battlefield cooled, the men whispered that no weapon in their hands could end the storm that was rising. The defeat of the great army left the world shaken. Men spoke in whispers about the wolf that could not be killed. Many feared it was a curse sent to end them all. But Queen Claire did not hide in fear. She called her council together and spoke with steady voice. She said the wolf could not be faced as a mindless beast. It had shown thought, and it had shown that it could choose. She turned to Daniel. Twice the wolf had spared him. She believed that was no accident. She told him he must face it again. Not as a soldier firing a weapon, but as a man standing before something greater. The council argued, but her word was final. Daniel would go with their army, not as bait, but as the one who might reach the beast. Ethan was chosen to lead the strike again. Carried anger in his heart from the last battle, but he bowed to the Queen's order. He gathered men and machines once more. This time their plan was different. They would not only try to kill the wolf, they would draw it into one final trap, a place where it could not run. The chosen world was scarred with deep canyons and broken cities. Fire still burned from old wars. It was there they prepared their stand. Towers of steel were placed in circles, walls raised high, and lines of soldiers filled the ground. At the center of it all stood Daniel, armed only with a rifle he did not raise. When night came, the ground shook. The wolf's cry rolled through the broken sky, and tightened their lines, their weapons ready. Then it appeared, larger than before, its eyes burning with light. It struck the outer walls first. Men fired and the night turned into flame. Yet the beast leapt through, crushing machines and throwing men aside. Ethan shouted for the trap to close. Fire poured from all sides, but the wolf did not fall. It tore through the circle, moving closer and closer to the center. Daniel stood still. His hands trembled, but he did not lift his weapon. The wolf broke through the last line and came before him. The soldiers watched in silence. The beast towered over Daniel, its breath hot, its teeth ready. Ethan raised his rifle to fire, but Daniel shouted for him to stop. The wolf growled, but it did not strike. Its eyes locked on Daniel again. The field fell silent. Slowly the beast lowered its head. It bent its knee and bowed before him. The soldiers gasped. Men who had seen their brothers die now stood frozen in shock. The savage wolf, the terror of their worlds, had chosen not to kill. It had chosen to follow. Ethan lowered his weapon, his face pale. The men whispered, unable to believe their eyes. The wolf had given its loyalty to a single man. Queen Claire heard the report and knew the meaning at once. She declared that the wolf was not a curse, but a gift. It had chosen Daniel, and through him, it would serve humanity. She told her men that this was proof of their strength. What others had feared, men had mastered. On the broken world, the wolf stood beside Daniel. The soldiers who once trembled now raised their voices in a cheer. The first time they did not see a beast of death, saw a force that belonged to them. A bond had been made, and the galaxy itself would feel its power. The day after the wolf bowed before Daniel, the worlds were never the same. News spread faster than ships could travel. Men and women who had once feared the beast now spoke its name with awe. The savage wolf had become the ally of humanity, and no army could stand against it. Queen Claire called Daniel before her throne. She looked at him with calm pride and told him the truth. He was no longer only a soldier. He was the one chosen by the wolf, and through him the future of all their people would be written. She gave him command of new forces, and beside him, the wolf would march. Commander Ethan, though once filled with doubt, now swore his loyalty to Daniel. He had seen with his own eyes the moment the beast had bowed. He knew there was no denying it. Together, Daniel and Ethan began to prepare for the battles to come. It did not take long for enemies to rise. Across the stars, there were men who had laughed at humanity, believing them weak. When they heard the story of the wolf, they moved their armies to crush the threat before it grew. Great fleets of steel filled the skies, and whole worlds trembled at their approach. But Daniel did not fear. The wolf stood at his side, its golden eyes burning with fire. When the enemy came, Daniel led his men into battle. As a wolf ran at the front, faster than any machine, tearing through walls and ships with its jaws and claws. No weapon could stop it. On the fields of war, men fought with courage they had never known before. They saw the wolf strike down enemy lines, and they felt their fear turn into strength. Daniel fought at the heart of every clash, his voice carrying above the fire. Ethan led the flanks, driving men forward while the beast cleared the way. The battles were fierce. Cities shook, skies burned, and rivers of smoke covered the ground. But at every turn, the wolf cut through the enemy, crushed their strongest machines, and left their armies broken. Men who once believed they ruled the stars now fled in terror from a single beast and the human it had chosen. When the final fleet fell, silence returned to the galaxy. The enemies who had mocked humanity now sent envoys begging for peace. Queen Claire stood before her council and declared a new age. No longer would her people be cast aside or doubted. With the wolf at their side, they had become the power that no man could challenge. Daniel stood before the queen, his armor scarred, his body worn from battle, but his spirit strong. At his side, the wolf lowered its head, calm and loyal. The bond between them was unbreakable. The queen placed her hand on his shoulder and told him he had changed the fate of all. Across the stars, men and women spoke of the day the wolf was abandoned and the day it returned. They told how it had risen from the ruins, how it had chosen a man, and how it had brought victory to all. Children learned the story, and soldiers swore oaths in its name. The wolf had once been feared as a curse, but it had become the greatest shield of mankind. And through it, humanity rose higher than ever before. The galaxy remembered the howl that echoed from the ruins, the sound that once brought fear, but now marked the dawn of a new rule. Humanity and its savage wolf had claimed their place, and no power would take it from them.